So the Mets are clearly a really, really, really good team and most likely playoff bound. But I think they're 2 moves away from being elite at the top, at the very top of the National League. And mainly because, number one, they were a little bit far away. So, Steve Cohen, the new owner, came in and he showed that he meant business. And he was very aggressive this offseason with trades and free agent moves and stuff but with that said, there was still some injuries either along the way or setbacks from injuries that have already occurred, namely guys like Thor coming back from Tommy John and other guys like Conforto, McNeil, and some of their regular players that have kind of left the depth a little bit on the back end, a little bit suspect. And not surprising, but he did solidify the Mets and put them in a strong footing, or put them in strong footing moving forward. But I still think there's 2 moves that they could make that will put them at the very top and stamp them as a legitimate contender to make the World Series, even on top of teams like the Padres and the Dodgers and even the Giants and teams like that. I want to go over these 2 moves, and you let me know what you think. Number one, I think, obviously bringing in another starting pitcher because they've been decimated. And not only for, Thor, but for potential insurance for Jacob deGrom. He's had some little injuries recently, and I know he comes back and he's elite. He's outer-worldly for the most part. But just in the event that they have to shut him down for an extended period of time, I think another starter on the back end is particularly since, Carrasco's not all the way back. And, they made a big trade for him and Lindor. And now Lucchesi has to get Tommy John. So this, to me, it implicates that they need to bring in another reliable starting pitcher. And 2 names kind of hit me right off the bat, and that's Danny Duffy from the Kansas City Royals and Jose Berrios from the Minnesota Twins. Now, Danny Duffy's not a sexy name, but he's a reliable starter, okay? He is, he's a free agent at the end of this year, so it's not going to require a long-term financial commitment, and his contract isn't ridiculous anyway, and I know they're close to the payroll tax threshold, so keeping those things in mind, he would be a good back-end guy in the rotation. And he's a lefty, so he could replace a Lucchesi. The other guy is Jose Berrios from the Minnesota Twins. And, he's under control. He's not a free agent until 2023, so got another year of control with him, especially if Noah Syndergaard signs somewhere else as a free agent. You have a reliable starter to go into his place. And he's a good starter, and I think a change of scenery to the National League would only do him a little bit good. And again, his contract's not ridiculously exorbitant. So, again, serviceable for the Mets, not only financially, but on the field product too. So I think it's one of those guys would also be, obviously be protection for the injuries that they've already had in the rotation, but it'd also give them some good depth. I know they've got Stroman and they've got, what's the other Taijuan Walker, and you've got DeGrom, obviously, and you've got, but Carrasco's not there yet. Lucchesi's down. Syndergaard's not there yet. So there's still some spots that could use a reliable pitcher. And to me, of those 2, if you can get any one of them, it would be Jose Berrios, if possible. They do have the pieces to get him. And again, he's not making $15, $20 million, or $30 million a year like a Max Scherzer is. So he's not going to shoot them over the luxury tax threshold. So that's another thing to keep in mind. So he kind of fits the criteria of the financial piece and the on-the-field need piece. So both of them do. And the other trade, the other move, I should say, would be acquiring a guy that can play multiple positions. Also in the realm that is not a long-term financial commitment because of the payroll implications that they have. And they're going to have to, lock up Conforto. They're going to have to lock up Alonso and some of these other young studs or decide what to do with them. So with that in mind as well, Adam Frazier, to me, from the Pittsburgh Pirates seems like a logical fit. I know there's Ketel Marte and Ryan Reynolds and some other guys out there, but they're going to require a bigger financial hit and a bigger prospect return. Adam Frazier, to me, represents an ideal fit for them because he can play multiple positions. He gives them insurance for the infield and the outfield to help protect from those guys that are getting hurt. Also can help move him around a little bit because he's so versatile as a switch hitter. Doesn't strike out a ton, so he fits into that mold of a good contact hitter that the Mets lineup would need. And, again, those things keeping in mind, to me, he seems a good fit as well. And again, he's not going to require a ridiculous package in return. It'll be a good one, but not a outer-worldly package. You're not trading for Ketel Marte, who's going to cost more. Not trading for Brian Reynolds. Not trading for somebody like Shohei Ohtani or something like that who's not available anyway. But you know what I mean. So these 2 guys would represent, significant upgrades, and I think with minimal decent financial commitments, but not long-term, but potential significant upside in areas that they need now. And they need consistently. And both of these guys, or any combination of those 2 pitchers and Adam Frazier, would be significant. for the team. And again, without having to make a huge move. And even though I proposed in one of my most recent videos, take a look down below, 6 trades that could blow up the MLB free agent trade deadline. I mentioned the Mets trade in there. So if you haven't seen that video, take a look. It's in the description down below. I think you'll enjoy that. I think you'll find some of the other trades interesting, but particularly because, you know, the gamesmanship, and I think the same thing applies to here, is, you know, a GM sometimes will get a guy and not necessarily need them badly, even though the Mets could use these guys, but sometimes they'll bring in a guy as a piece of depth just to keep him away from the other teams in his division or in their division. That's gamesmanship. You know, that's what GMs do sometimes. They'll get a guy because I don't want that team to get him. Screw that. And we'll figure out how to play him. We'll get him over here, but I don't want them to get it. And here's where you see some gamesmanship. So, because you know the Mets could take some of these guys away from the Braves, you know, guys, teams like that, particularly the Braves or the Phillies, who could use these guys as well. So, and Steve Cohen's been pretty proactive. He's been pretty aggressive, and I can see him actually doing one or both of these moves. And the Mets have what it takes to get him, and he's already shown that he's serious about winning. And I think the Mets are a move or two away from being right at the top, the very top of the National League. So let me know what you think of these 2 moves, and you know what you think. I'll be doing my MLB trade deadline predictions later on, closer to the deadline itself. I'm working on that as we speak, and sometimes it has to be modified because some guys are moved and some other teams do this or that. So that's going to go right down to the wire. I'm going to make sure it's the most recent, the most updated list and updated predictions. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I have a bunch more videos coming out. So if you want to see them, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do so and hit that bell icon so you don't miss them. So thanks for watching, guys. Talk to you next time.